Safe Drydocking. And I'm sure that all of us must have, in our sea carriers, must have dry docked several vessels, and many of us will be dry docking in future. So this is a knowledge sharing experience what we have gained. And during the course of this webinar, we'll be asking you some questions. And there is a request that please write your answers into the chat box as 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever is your choice of answers. Dedicated today's webinar to seafarers, ships, and shipyards. And the objective of today's webinar is to spread awareness about safe dry docking of vessels. What are different types of dry docks that we come across? And what precautions do we need to take before we dock a vessel? What is the information given in the docking plan? And when we are preparing for a vessel, how to prepare a vessel for dry dock? And once the vessel is inside the dry dock, how to manage those days? That we'll be discussing in today's webinar. Now, before we proceed, question. So last chapter 1, inspection of the ship's bottom. Is it number 1 voluntary, or it is number 2 mandatory once mandatory once in 5 years? Choice number 3 is mandatory twice in 5 years. Choice number 4 is mandatory once the vessel completes 5 years of age, and thereafter twice every 5 years. So the question is that as per SOLAS, when do we have to do the dry dock? When do we have to inspect the ship's bottom? What is the requirement? So please write your answer as 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the chat box. Well, we have pretty many number of answers coming up. Couple of more seconds so everybody can answer. Okay, we'll give the right answer. The right answer is number 3, mandatory twice in 5 years of time. So whenever a vessel is delivered, we have to carry out the, as per SOLAS chapter 1, regulation number 10, which is surveys of structure, machinery, and equipment. Twice every 5 years, we have to inspect the ship's bottom. Now, only thing is that sometimes we might not have done the inspection after 2.5 years, because in-water inspection would have done in place of the actual dry docking of the vessel. Out in future slides. Okay, so all of us must have taken steps to this type of dry dock. This is a graving dry dock, and as we can see, there are blocks kept all over for the vessel to sit on so that vessel can rest on these blocks. So let us see what kind of how does a block actually look like. So this is a dry dock block. As you can see, this is actually a cemented structure, and on top of this we have this wooden material being kept. We don't want the ship's body of steel to come directly in touch with a very hard surface, whether it is a concrete or steel or whatsoever. That's why the ship's body actually rests it's in contact with the wood, and below the wood we have this concrete structure. So this is a typical dry dock block. Also, one interesting thing I would like to tell you is that when we have put a block, when the vessel is already set down, sometimes might have to shift one of the blocks. So we can actually remove this block underside by first removing this wood on top, then remove the block, then again put it somewhere else and put the wood on top and put additional chokes. So that is possible. That can be done in the dry dock. Now let us come to the next slide. This is a floating dry dock. I'm sure this also another type of dry dock that many of us have previously dry docked our ship. So this is a typical example of a floating dry dock. So it floats on the water. So it's not a concrete structure like a graving dock, concrete structure in the port, but which is a part of land, but it is a floating dry dock. Now let us see how good we are with our knowledge on a floating dry dock. So which of the following statement is correct with respect to a floating dry dock? Number 1, a floating dry dock is usually stationed with 12-point mooring system with anchors and chains. Number 2, if circumstances require, it can be towed to a vessel in need of a dry dock. Number three, floating by the weight of the vessels, it can dry dock. And number four, a floating dry dock has ballast tanks at its double bottom and at its sides. So, and five is all of the above. So, which is the right answer with respect to a floating dry dock? You can write your answer as 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5, whichever you feel is the most likely the correct answer. Well, we are overwhelmingly right. Answer is number 5. This is a floating dry dock. It is since it floats, so it has to be stationed by somehow. And stationing, we only anchors and chain. So it has got a point mooring system by which a floating dry dock is stationed. And if the circumstance which needs a dry dock, but of course it requires a lot of money. So it depends on how much money owners are ready to spend if they want dry dock to come to the vessel. And limited by the weight of the vessel sit and dry dock. Because if you put the weight of any weight on this, then the floating dry dock will sink by some degree. And then it depends on how much weight is allowed to be loaded on that. And it has got on sides and its bottom has got ballast tanks. When we put ballast in those ballast tanks, the dry dock goes down so that a ship can come inside. And when we pump them out, dry dock lifts up, so automatically the ship gets lifted with the floating dry dock. Now, for dry dock, which is also very common nowadays, this is called as a ship lift. Now, this is, for example, we have in L&T shipbuilding in Kattupalli in near Chennai, this kind of dry dock is present. You see these structures on the sides, they have got wires below it and they lift up the whole of the bottom of the dry dock that the ship gets lifted. So whole ship is lifted with the bottom with the help of these structures on the sides which have got wire system in them. So this is called as a ship lift. So this is another kind of dry dock. So now I'm sure that all of us are now thorough with what is a graving dock, what is a floating dry dock, and what is a ship lift. Now, this is a situation of a vessel which had capsized in a dry dock. And this is something that can happen in all the kind of dry docks, whether it is a graving dock, whether it is a floating dry dock, or whether it is a ship lift. So the stability vessel capsize when it has got issue with the stability. This particular vessel had capsized just prior to the sailing. The flooding of the docks had started, and that time she capsized. So, as we know, as a navigators, as a sailors, as a engineers, as a maritime industry personnel, we know that no matter what we do with the regards to how much we speak, if a situation like a navigational incident happen, if a collision happen in the middle of the sea, how serious is that incident? Same way, a capsizing of a vessel is also a catastrophe as far as the ship is concerned. In this particular case, two persons unfortunately also lost their lives, and you can imagine it's such a mammoth exercise how to straighten this ship back again. So why, as we said, stability is a very big issue when we are dry docking a ship, so that such kind of situation does not arise. Now, all of us must have our master's exam, we have come across and we hint ship chapter number 39 is on dry docking. So I'm sure all of us have come across this. We all know what is a critical period. It is the time when the aft of the ship touches the blocks to the time when the forward, means the full ship touches the block. This is a critical period. And during the critical period, a loss of the GM takes place. So more is the trim of the vessel, more the time it will take to fully rest on the blocks, and then more will be the loss of GM, because till the time the vessel rests on the blocks forward and aft, the loss of GM continues. So critical period plays a very important role in the stability of the vessel. So we need to control how much trim we need to have when we go into the dock. We need to calculate that the loss of GM is not such that it's lost its complete stability and the GM becomes zero, the vessel will capsize. Now, also the formula has been given in the hint ship for the loss of GM. I'm sure all of us are very familiar with this formula, where P is the GG1P into kg W minus divided by W minus P, where P is the upthrust provided by the blocks in tons. So idea is that we want to know what was the GM of the vessel when she entered the dock, and what will be how much will be the loss of GM when she is just before the critical period ends, when she touches the forward touches the blocks, and that GM needs to be definitely zero. We cannot be wrong with it in any circumstance. So I would suggest that always do the calculation when the ship is going inside by hand, not only by computers, do it by hand. This is something absolutely you cannot be wrong with the GM of the ship. Now, as I said, in that particular vessel's case, the ship might have been fine when she went into the dry dock and had a positive GM, but something happened in the dock which made her lose GM. So what can be the possible reason of a reduction of GM during? Was it bunkering in the topside bunker tanks? Or number two, was it change in the ballast condition between docking and undocking condition? Was there any major refit or modification of the vessel was carried out in the dry dock? Or all of the above had taken place, could have taken place, or none of the above could have taken place, which could have resulted in her loss of GM that made her unstable and made her to capsize in the dry dock just before she was going to sail out. Please write your answers into the chat box, which seems to be the right answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, or none of the above. Yes, we are all all of us are expert mariners and officers of the industry. So was the right answer. That bunkering of the vessel could have taken place in the topside tank, which resulted in the G shifting upwards. There must have been a change in the ballast condition with docking and undocking. A major taken place and modification of the vessel, which resulted in again shifting of the vessel upwards, and finally the GM got nullified. And when during the locking, when the floods were, our dry dock was flooded again to make the vessel sail out, she just capsized because she just did not have any stability to sustain her position. So we come to this fact that dry docking is a legal requirement. It's not our choice that we want to dry dock or we don't want to dry dock. As we said, that's one regulation 10. It wants us legally to dry dock a vessel twice every 5 years, and this interval between two dockings or bottom inspections cannot be more than 36 months. So it's a legal requirement. And inspection and repair of areas which otherwise is not possible is only possible in the dry dock when we dry dock a ship. And to make a successful and efficient docking, we need all of us to come together, whether we are shore staff, whether we are ship staff, all of us have to all hands on deck or in the engine room to make sure that the vessel comes out safely back in service from the dry dock. So we need to be extremely careful with it. Now, very important plan is, most of us have heard this name, a docking plan. We start hearing this word right from the cadetship until the time whatever ranks we achieve in our careers, we will come across this plan whenever a vessel is going to the dry dock. So let's see what information we have in the docking plan. Now, this is the side view of a vessel where the docking plan has side view of a vessel in the docking plan. As we can see, our forepeak tank, position of the anchors, our chain lockers, what is the location of the topside and DB tanks, cargo holds, our height of the superstructures, height of the mast, and also what is the frame spacing. Everything, all this information is available. The frame spacing is at the bottom. All this information is available in a side view in a docking plan. Now see what else information we have in the docking plan. Now this is the top view of the vessel in a docking plan. Now see what information do we have here. Now one very important aspect is something called as we have drain plugs for all the ballast tanks. This number one here is the drain plug of the forepeak tank. Now this number two is the drain plug of one topside and DB port side tank. And number 3 is the drain dB starboard, and so on. And we can see we have got drain plugs all through. So every ballast tank has got a drain plug. Why we have been given the drain plugs? Because once the vessel enters the dock, we'll open the drain plugs to let the water drain out from them, and the tank will be ready for inspection by the class surveyors then thereafter. So all this information, what is the location of the drain plugs, is exactly given inside the in the tank top plan of the in the docking plan. Now this is list of the bottom plugs. As we can see, 4-pick tank, the what type of bottom plug and details is given. Number 1 dB starboard side, details are given. Number 2 dB starboard, so on. So all the list of bottom plugs, whatever number of bottom plugs we have, full information is given into the docking plan. Now we will see a video of how this bottom plug has been opened on a ship. Let's have a look. This video has been given by my friend Captain Rajiv Jessel of myseatime.com.
Because that video cannot be visible to the attendees because you are on the PowerPoint screen.
Mr. City, the video everybody can see.
So it will not be visible because you are sharing the PowerPoint screen, not the video screen. So maybe you can skip that video.
Okay, anyway, we'll go to the next slide now. Now, other very important aspect that we have in our docking plan is this inspection plug for in-water survey of rudder stock nut and the pintles. Now, as we can see, number 17 and 18, these are the inspection plug for in-water survey of rudder stock nut and the pintles. Let's see exact location of them in our side view. As you can see, this one and this one, these are for the inspection of our rudder in simple terms, we can say, and they're especially used during the in-water survey time. When during the in-water survey, these plugs are opened and we check the health of our rudder at that time. So that is in the purpose actually of we take the pintle bush clearance from here by usually a poker gauge, which is kept with the chief engineer. This is the purpose of these plugs which are there on the rudder. Now we can see the actual position of them. This is the rudder stock nut inspection plug, and this is the pintle nut inspection plug, actual photograph from a rudder. And these get opened to check the clearance and during of the pintle bush clearance in the in-water survey, we have to open them. Otherwise, when the vessel is actually in the dry dock, of course, it is available to us. Okay, now again we are coming up with a question. All of us heard about this term in-water survey. So the question is, which is the correct statement with regards to the in-water survey? Number 1, an in-water survey can always be considered instead of a dry docking as it is cheaper. Or in number 2, in-water survey is for new ships, dry dock for older ships. Number 3, in-water survey might be accepted by the class and flag in lieu of the dry dock as per class and flag rules. Number 4, all of the above. And number 5, none of the above. Which is the correct answer with regards to the in-water survey? Yes, please write your answers into the chat box. Okay, the correct answer is number 3, that in-water survey might be accepted by the class and flag in lieu of the dry dock as per class and the flag rules. Now we said that, so last chapter 1, regulation 10, we call it I-10. I-10 requires that there has to be 2 surveys of the bottom in 5 years time. Now, class have got their rules that, okay, we will let go with one of the inspection and provided the certain conditions are fulfilled, and the flag is also allowed us for that. So instead of taking the vessel to the dry dock, we will just do a in-water survey. So between 5 years, the intermediate inspection might be done by the class may be accepted by the class as an in-water survey, But again, that also depends upon how old the ship and other factors as per the class rules. So now we'll come to the next part of our docking. Another very important thing is this our speed log and our eco sounder, number 23 and number 24. Now let us see where is our speed log in our docking plan. Now you see this. This is the speed log at location number 23 on the top view, tanks on the top view, and on the side view, this is the speed log. So why we need to see where is our speed log sensor? Because dockmaster need to keep clear this site. We cannot have a block underside it, which might sometimes even damage the sensor. That's why we have a speed log placed at these locations. So we have to check beforehand in our docking plan. Now let's see, this was location number 23. Number 24 will find out where is our eco sounder. Number 24, this is our engine room, and on the aft side we have our eco sounder sensor. Again, we need to, first of all, docking master need to find out his location so as to not to put any block here. And sometimes if the sensor touches any block, then it might get damaged. And that is very important. Sometimes also we need to see, sometimes in the manufacturer's manual it is written that we have to retract the sensor of the eco sounder or the Doppler log before the vessel goes into the dock. So if that is the condition, we will follow that and retract. Our engineers will retract the sensor before the vessel, so in order to prevent any damage to the sensor. Another very interesting part we have now is of the docking plan is our ICCP system, which is impressed current cathodic protection system. As we can see, number 21 and number 22. 21 is ICCP and 22 is reference cell. Let's see where on the ship's hull do we have it. Now see, this is number 21. This is our impressed current cathodic protection system, and this is the reference cell, number 2. Now what is the purpose of this? Well, and why it is fitted on the stern area of the ship? Why not to the forward area? Because on the stern area, it is usually fitted on the stern area of a ship. Main purpose is of it to prevent corrosion. Because it impressed current cathodic protection system will release a very small amount of current via one of the anode which is fitted on the ship's hull. And how much is the current is being released, that is being measured by the reference cell, number 22. Now this continuous release of currents in the stern area reduces the chances of corrosion. And why do we need this ICCP system on the stern of the vessel is because there are 3 different kinds of material present here. The ship's hull, it is made up of steel. Now let us come to the propeller. Propeller is an alloy of bronze, nickel, and aluminium. Now let us come to our rudder. Rudder is also a mix of steel and aluminium. So all different material are present in the rudder, in the propeller, and in the ship's hull. So there's a lot of chances of corrosion when 3 different kinds of material are present. That's why we install a impressed current cathodic protection. So when we go inside the dry dock, we switch it off. This is what we do. That's all. And also, some ships might not be having the ICCP, impressed current cathodic protection system. In that case, we have to put additional number of anodes in the stern area. So it depends upon the owner. What does he need? Whether he wants to put additional number of anodes and then there is no need of ICCP system, or having a ICCP system without anodes. But then we should remember that anodes also cost a lot of money. So depends upon what choice the owner made when the ship was ordered. Now let's come to another interesting part, our high sea chest, which is on the port side on this ship, and our low sea chest, which is on the starboard side on this ship. And also we have something called as the emergency sea chest, which is on the starboard side. Let's first see where is the high sea chest of this vessel on the port side. Okay, this is the high sea chest of this vessel on the port side. And where is the low sea chest? This is the low sea chest on the starboard side. Well, why do we have a low sea chest? Yes, when sometimes when the water level goes down, we have heard many times that, okay, change over from the high sea chest to the low sea chest so that we keep on getting water, cooling water for our machinery in the engine. So high sea chest and the low sea chest, all of us are very much aware. And apart from that, we heard something about the emergency sea chest. Now let us ask a question from all of us. What is the meaning of emergency sea chest? Following is true in relation to the emergency sea chest. Number 1, it is the suction of emergency fire pump. Number 2, it is separated from engine room by a watertight bulkhead. Number 3, water from emergency sea chest or emergency fire pump can be used via fire hoses to run an AE even if low and high sea chest have lost the suction. Or all of the four are correct. Which is the correct statement with regards to the emergency sea chest? High sea chest, low sea chest, yes, everybody has very often heard this name. But what about the emergency sea chest? Let us have a see how much we know about the emergency sea chest. Please write your answers into the chat box, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Well, the correct answer is, okay, we have got more answers coming up, so let us give a moment. The correct answer is number 4. Actually, emergency fire pump suction is called as emergency sea chest. And of course, as the emergency fire pump is segregated by bulkhead from other machinery in the engine room, same way its suction also is segregated by a bulkhead from the rest of the engine room. And in emergency, we can also use this emergency fire because its location is the lowest as far as the from port side sea chest, starboard sea chest, emergency sea chest is located at the lowest level on the ship's hull. So even if we don't have water available from the high sea chest and low sea chest, and we have water available from the emergency sea chest, we can use this water to run our AE in emergency if it in case required. So number 4 is the correct answer. Now let's go further. What information we have? Okay, now this is emergency sea chest as it is shown. Number 25, we can see in our plan. This is the emergency sea chest. Okay, now let's come back to our docking condition. Let's let our ship go inside the dock now. So as we discussed earlier, we don't want our ship to capsize. So what is most important? Our GM is very important. So, and our GM has to be minimum, and so that the critical period is the least. And so when we say our GM is minimum, critical period is the trim, when that is possible when our trim is least. So is this a very good situation? Let's see the draft of this vessel. The forward draft is 3.21, aft draft is also 3.21, and the trim is 0. So is this the best ship position to take the ship inside? Now, what has been done to achieve this condition? Let us see the ballast condition of this vessel. Number 1, dB port and starboard, and number 2, dB port and starboard. Number 1, dB port and starboard, there is a ballast. In this particular case, this was 50% of the tank capacity. And number 2, dB port and starboard, they have taken the ballast as 100% of the tank capacity. So we have a situation, we have close to say 50% tank is 1350 tons and close to 2600 tons in number 2 dB. Is this a very good condition? So just imagine, okay, if we go inside this, what is going to happen to this water? Are we going to take out this water by opening our drain plugs? This thousands of tons of water? No, it's impossible. If we go inside and dock our vessel with this much amount of water, the whole dry dock will complete and water cannot be drained by the drain plugs from this much amount of water cannot be drained. So we cannot have such a situation. We have to pump out our ballast before the vessel takes the block. And if we pump out our ballast from number 1 or number 2 dB, as we can see, since these tanks are forward, we will have some trim before we go inside. So ideally, the best trim to go inside is 30 to 50 centimeter. That is the best trim to have. We cannot have too much of the trim also, again, because of the critical period loss of GM. And we need to discuss with the docking master what is the right trim does he want when we are going inside the dock. So of course, this is definitely not the best condition to go into a docking condition. So with all this information, docking master we have from the vessel, and he superimposes the ship's docking plan with his own plan of the dry dock, and then he takes a decision. Okay, which block has to be moved here? For example, if you have eco sounder here, then he has to remove 2 blocks from here, and if you have the speed lock there, then he has to remove some blocks from here. Some of the blocks will not be used, then he has to shift them. So based on whatever information is there in the ship's docking plan, and he positions the ship's his docks blocks in one position or the other. And once that position is achieved, he say, okay, now my dock is ready to receive our vessel. So now let's see forward. Okay. So now this is our vessel has now come into the dry dock, and what a lovely moment it is. The water has been pumped out, and now such a beautiful time it is. Everybody from the ship, we all want to go down. We want to have a look at the propeller. We want to see our ship's rudder fully. We want to see our ship's bottom. We want to see our bow area, and we want to see our sea chest. This is time. So many years we have been sailing on that particular ship, but we never have seen it from underside. So this is the best time. This is the very everybody is curious to know and go down and have a look on the our vessel. What is there? So many things to see here. Okay, this is the bilge keel of the vessel. As we see, a lot of barnacles are also there. As soon as the vessel takes the blocks, the shore staff will come. They will do a high pressure washing of the ship, and in order to remove this barnacles, and thereafter the sand blasting will start, and finally the painting will be carried out. Okay, now regarding to painting, there are different areas the ship's hull is divided into. You see this black paint is on this area is called as the top side of the vessel. This red paint, this area is called the boot top of the vessel. Thereafter below it we have got the side bottom, and then bottom is the flat area at the bottom is called as the flat bottom of the vessel. Now whether we have international paints or Chugoku paints, our ship's manual will have that tops what kind of paint is to be used, boot top what paint is to be applied, side bottom, flat bottom what paint is to be applied. So usually the practice is that we order these paints well in advance. We don't usually ask the dry dock to supply these paints because everything we buy from the dry dock becomes very expensive. That's why we buy this paint. We give our own order, and the ship staff keep a tab on how much paint has been issued to the dry dock. Of course, that may arrive well inside. The supply might be done at the dry dock itself, but ship staff keep a tab usually on how much paint has been supplied to the shipyard. But this is important to know that our manual where we receive what paints are used on top side, boot top, side bottom, and the flat bottom of the ship. Now this is the eco sounder transducer. As we said, it's we always are dependent upon our depths. So this is the eco sounder transducer that we see when we go down in our dry dock. And now it's a practice sometimes to put tape or to put grease over this transducer, because when they will start doing the sand blasting here, we don't want the sensor to get damaged. So eco sounder transducer is a very we take a lot of care of it. We cover it with tape sometimes or put grease so that nobody do any damage to the eco sounder transducer. Otherwise we don't want it to damage, so that we have to replace it. Nobody is going to be happy about it. So, and sometimes, as I said, as per the manufacturer's instructions, in some cases on some ships, sensors need to be retracted. That also instructions need to be followed. Now, this is the area of the, as you can see, the sandblasting has now started on our hull area, on our stern area. As you can see in this case, the propeller has been withdrawn from this tail shaft. Now, it's not customary to withdraw the propeller every time the vessel goes inside, the propeller will be withdrawn. No, it's not like that. This is specially done, especially when we want to renew our stern seals. When we want to renew our stern seals, we need access to that. And for that, we need to remove the propeller outside, and we have to remove the tail shaft inside the engine room. Let's see now. This is the tail shaft has been now been removed in the engine room. And then we can work on our forward and aft stern seals. We can renew our stern seals. You remember, if the stern seal leaking, what happens? Some oil will go down always in the water, and vessel will be called as a polluting ship, MARPOL not compliant. So we need to be careful that stern seal oil does not leak to the outside. So stern seals need to be in very good condition. So they get very often they get replaced or they get renewed into the dry docks. Now let's see what job is going on our forward on the bow side. See, all the anchor chains have been taken out completely. Now each and every link of these anchor links will be measured, whether it is a 78 mm link, whether it is a 110, 114. Nowadays VLCC have 122 mm links also. So depends. That depends on what is the thickness of the link. That depends on the ship's equipment number and what grade of the chain is this. But whatever is the design, we need to check each and every link need to be checked into the dry dock. And thereafter the paint, this chain need to be painted. This is called as the anchor chains ranging. I'm sure many of us are very familiar with this anchor chains ranging. Now, as you can see, the chain is being completely have been put down into the dry dock, and now this is free. Chain locker is free. In chain locker, we get it cleaned, we get it painted. So these jobs are done into the dry dock. Other interesting thing to see is that forward draft gauge opening is there. As we can see, you can have when we go to the dry dock next time, we can try to find out, okay, we have a gauge for the forward draft in our cargo control room. From where do we actually able to see? So this is, we need to find out and we can see, okay, from where is this opening for the forward draft gauge. Now, in this particular vessel, the EM log transducer, it was renewed. So this is a renewed transducer of the electromagnetic log. What is electromagnetic log? We all know EM log, Doppler log, we use it to give us speed through water. So speed through water, we have to get by the EM log, and this is the transducer for the, which has been renewed on this particular vessel. Very interesting indeed. So again, a lot of work on our ship side. All these areas, as you see, wherever we see a indentation on our ship side, class survey will come. Okay, we want this plate to be renewed, that area plate to be renewed, and you see a lot of work is going on. They put stages, and thereafter this steel plates are getting renewed on the ship side. Same situation might be in DB when we have to renew some plates as per the recommendation of the class. So a lot of work, a lot of people on the ship. Ship is dried up, whether it is deck, engine room, they're working on the stern sheet, tail shaft. So people are full in the dry dock. Interesting part is our sea chest anodes. Now you see the sea chest, you see the anode inside. This is the sea chest with its cover, and the anode has been renewed here, as we can see here. And all these sea chest walls are also overhauled in the dry dock. As we saw in the docking plan, high sea chest, low sea chest, emergency sea chest. So all these sea chest walls will be overhauled. There is some, if any location for the anodes there inside, that will be renewed. And also you can see here that the sea chest has got a steam pipe also inside. So when there is icing condition, this sea chest steam pipe is important. So we see that this is also interesting thing to see in our dry dock. For when we go in our dock, when you go down the dock, we have a look at the sea chest. Look for the steam pipe also next time. Now we have a question coming up after speaking so much. One question for our audience. Date of last docking of a vessel can be found in where we find, okay, where the vessel was last docked, which is the certificate, who will give us this information on the ship, whether it is the safety construction certificate. Number two, the class quarterly survey status report, also called as quarterly listing, or both of the above will give us this information, or none of the above will give us this information. What is the right answer? We want to find out information about when was the vessel last dry docked. So which is the right answer? Please write your answer 1, 2, 3, 4. Whether it is safety construction certificate, or it is class quarterly survey status report called as quarterly listing, or it is both the above or none of the above. Which is the right answer? Well, the right answer is number 3, both of the above. Well, as I said, always remember, think of dry dock, think of your I-10 car, Hyundai, not Hyundai I-10, but 1 regulation 10. So first of all, safety construction certificate, let us have a look. Now this is the safety construction certificate of a ship. Now let's see what information we have here in it. As we can see here, date on which the keel was laid was in 2004 and the ship was delivered in March 2006. So when all the subsequent surveys are taken from the delivery of the vessel, no, not from when the keel was laid. So ship was delivered in March 2006. From that onwards, we have to calculate all the surveys. So as you can see, what next? That the ship has been surveyed in accordance with the requirement of regulation 110. This is not I-10. This is chapter 1. So last chapter 1, regulation 10 of the convention, because that convention requires us to survey the bottom of the ship. So this ship has been surveyed as per that. What else we have? Last 2 inspections of the outside of the ship's bottom took place on 5th February 2016 in this case, and August 2013. So since this is a March 2006 delivered vessel, so means that after 10 years she will be having her second special survey. So it means second in 2016 her last special survey was done and the ship was dry docked at that time in February 2016. After that, what else information we have? Okay, the certificate was issued in December 2017. Now you see that after 2016, what about now? As we discussed that we have to do two inspections of the hull ship's bottom in 5 years. So as we can see here, in May, intermediate survey has been carried out on 17th May 2019 of the vessel at Qingdao. So after 2016, another dry dock has been done at 2019, which has been endorsed by the class surveyor here as an intermediate survey. So this is the information we have, which is given in the cargo ship safety construction certificate. And as I said, regulation I-10 will be mentioned in that certificate. Now let us see our class quarterly listing survey status report. Now, as we said, this is a keel laid was in 2004. Vessel was launched in January 2006, but the delivery was made in March 2006. So they have taken date of build is taken as date of delivery. Means from that onwards you count, okay, what surveys are to be done. So date of build is March 2006. So now let's see special survey, which special surveys every 5 years. So 2011, then 2016. So last was done in 2016. Next is 5 plus 2016, 2021. We have a next special survey. Intermediate survey was done after the last special survey. We did it in March 2019. Endorsement was also given in the safety construction certificate. And the docking survey is same as intermediate survey. That time they had done the dry dock. And when is the next one due? Is same as special survey, 5 yearly. So next docking survey is due in March 2021. So both the safety construction certificate and the class quarterly listing will give us the information about the docking of the vessel. So when we go on board, we want to ask, when was the last dry dock done? We'll just ask them, please give me the safety construction certificate or give me the quarterly listing. I'll find out. So it's very easy for us to find out. Okay, we have heard a lot about the water survey. In water survey just takes place. Suppose we have got a vessel of 10 years old now, and now after 10 years, when the vessel was old, that time we had done a good second special survey, and after that we went in for a in-water survey. Now, in-water survey, we don't take the vessel inside the dry dock. We just do it underwater inspection, and he will take this. As I also told, we also saw that after doing video is made of the underwater hull, and then they from the plugs of this rudder, they do the pintle bush clearance is also measured. So that is so everything is okay, fine. So in this particular case, this was a case of a vessel. As you see, everything looks good. This vessel had undergone a in-water survey. The rudder looked fine and propeller looked fine. So what happened was that when the vessel was in the middle of the ocean, one day what happened was there's no steering coming up. You can see the rudder moving on the top. You can see the movement, it's exactly 5, 10, 15, 20 degrees in the emergency steering gear, but there is no movement coming in the engine of the ship actually. So what had gone wrong? This has gone wrong. Can you imagine what has happened? Or let us see by another picture. Here the rudder has there is one called top pintle and there is a bottom pintle by which the rudder is attached to by these pintles of to a rudder is attached to the rudder stock. The top pintle had gave way and it had come out. Now the rudder is only attached via bottom pintle. It is just tilting over, and just the bottom pintle is just holding the rudder somehow. Just imagine this happens in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or middle of the Pacific Ocean. First of all, your steering is lost. Now our vessel have to be towed somehow to the next port. Some tug has to come. Maybe if we are in the middle of the Pacific, tug has to come right from Japan, South Korea, or somewhere in the middle. It has come from the USA to tow us. And how much is the cost? These tug companies, they charge a huge money, and you don't find a tugging company every now and there. They will charge $20,000 to $40,000 a day just to tow our vessel. And they start charging right from the time they started from, suppose the tug had started in from Vancouver, BC, and we are somewhere close to Aleutian Islands. So they will charging their money right from the time they started from the Vancouver, BC, per day, whatever, $20,000 to $40,000, depending upon what rate they want. And you can't say no to them. You have to give them this money. Otherwise, our vessel will keep just drifting in the middle of the ocean. And by God, for God, if we are close to any land, if we are drifting there, we can't do anything. That you try to run your engine, but run where there is no rudder, and we are in the middle of the ocean. So it is extremely important. Why this picture is being shown? It is extremely important to dry dock a ship. Of course, as I said, we had seen that uh, this we have got this plugs on the rudder, and during the in-water inspection, we check the clearance, which tell us okay, everything is good. But nothing can replace the dry docking of a vessel. Many a time, as we as a technical superintendents or even the owners nowadays in COVID times, everybody is asking us to delay our inspections, whether it is whatever inspections we are doing. So, but remember, there is nothing that can replace the dry docking. That is the best thing to be done to a vessel. It must be done in time as far as possible. If you save money, try to save money somewhere, we lose money somewhere else. Okay, now we'll come to the second part of our presentation. Now, as I said, there's so many people working in the dry dock. The risk of accidents increases manifold during dry docking. So that's because there are hundreds of people. You look on deck, in the holds, in the tanks, in the engine room. Somebody is working on the boiler. Somebody is working in the main engine. Somebody is working on this stern seals. And then there are people all around the ship. And then sometimes it look completely chaos. You don't know who is in control of the vessel here. So risk of the accidents increases manifold during dry docking. We need to ensure that ours and other safety is being taken care during the dry docking. Very simple example. Okay, even after completing our inspection, and we have gone to a repair berth, and the second engineer tells okay, close certain manhole, or say chief officer tells somebody okay, close the manhole. Who is inside the manhole, who is inside the tank, we don't know. Somebody had gone down to pick up something or do something, and you close the manhole, and we are closing the manhole, then it becomes catastrophic, because we are ship staff. As a ship staff, we are not used to that kind of environment. At the maximum, we have certain times when during our loading and discharging time, we have a situation that we are tied up with so many things all together. But dry dock is the ball game, that so there are a lot of chances that some accidents will happen in the dry dock. And we need to ensure that's why that we are safe, and all around us, whether it is the dry dock staff and others around us, we are safe. So what need to be done for that? First thing is that make sure that whatever information we have, just disseminate to everybody. That is the rule number one. We carry out regular meetings. As soon as we come to know, okay, we have a dry dock coming up after 2 months or 3 months later, immediately call up all ships meeting. When the DD specs are made, make sure even the GS of the vessel should be aware what is going to happen in the engine room. He should know, okay, 15, 20, 30 people will go in the engine room, 100 people are going with the more than hundreds of people will be on deck. So even the GS mind will start working. He will think, okay, there will be likely scarcity of water. There will be people. There will be our galley also might be under pressure. So everybody need to be given all the information, no matter what department he's from. Even a second engineer should know what jobs are going to be happen in on the deck, or even the viper should know what is going to happen in the galley. So everybody should know everybody. That is the first and foremost idea. And give whatever knowledge you have, give it to everybody in the ship. If you want our lives to be made easy on the ships, familiarize with all the plans, take in all the plans. That is extremely important. Now the second thing is, now spare parts. Spare parts is extremely important part, because so many things get opened up. So usually all the spare parts are ordered before we go into the dry dock. If we ask dry dock, they will charge us 3 times, 4 times. So make sure we have a very good inventory of all our stores which has been taken. If something is missing which will be required in the dry dock, raise the requisition immediately. And then when the requisition has arrived, again check it that correct spares have come. Again it has not come, again make the requisition immediately. So good. Again I said inventory is not going that to be happen in a day or two. That's we need to start months in advance when we want to take our ship to the dry dock. Of course, all the shipping companies, you see, name any companies and they have 10 checklists of how to go about the dry docking, D1, D35, D47, this, and this. But these are the basic rules. Make sure you have whatever you know, tell it to everybody. Then inventory is also one of the very important part, that this is the basics. On this, we can build up our Taj Mahal on that. Next is, as I said, there are hundreds of people working. Everybody is under pressure. What is going to happen? I need this, I need that. And then many times we tend to give our some, for example, a crane operation. You give it to somebody, especially a trainee, you say, okay, cadet, you go and operate the crane, usko udhar se udhar rakhwa de, wo something happens, and it's a big mess up thereafter. So never ever give any of the critical job to any trainee who is not supposed to do that. If that job is not happening, let it not happen. Wait for it. Calm roko for that purpose, and then you again start when you have a right person to do that job. Otherwise, don't end up having an accidents on this issue. What is the most important thing now in this picture? This is the walkie-talkie. Now, suppose normal port operations, we see we are fine with 5-6 walkie-talkies working on our ship, and we are happy with that. But in the dry docking, our requirement for communication becomes double. So make sure that at least 10 working walkie-talkies are there. You will have a time when whosoever of the ship staff is there, if he's on duty, we will need a walkie-talkie with him. So we need to be extremely careful that do not let the communication go out of your hand. If you lose one person in your dry dock who doesn't have walkie-talkie, it means you yourself will be running around. So make sure the communication should always remain in your control. That is only possible when you have sufficient walkie-talkies working on that, because it is very difficult. You inside then you think, I don't have working, it's not that, battery not working. It's not going to happen. That's why we have to start in advance. We have to think in advance. And these are our rules of the road that we are discussing now. Now, other very, very important part is that whenever we will finish our dry docking, immediately after 6 hours away, there will be a dry dock. So that will be booked. 6 hours, 8 hours, 5 hours, sometimes even that port itself is a dry dock. So you discharge here and go inside the graving dock inside. So we need to ensure that there is no cargo in our holds. If we are tanker, there is no cargo we need to do a very good stripping of our cargo tanks. Why? Because on a tanker, thereafter they will ask to gas free us. And we have left a lot of cargo in our cargo tanks, then it will take days to gas free it also. So that's why we need to do a very good stripping. If we are on a bulk carrier, be after the stevedores that we want all the cargo to be discharged. Just imagine if the stevedores, they run away leaving too much cargo in the cargo holds, and there is absolutely no time to do the hold cleaning. Then what will happen? Then the ship goes inside the dry dock. Then it starts raining, lot of water, and then thereafter all this water is gone inside all this cargo is gone in the bilges. Then they have started doing the grid blasting. Now the bilges cannot take suction because they are already choked. We will have a situation where we will have feet of water in our cargo hold. So that's why bilges need to be well working condition. That, as I said, that is also possible when we start working on them months in advance. When the last cargo was loaded, before that we had to clean the bilges to make them pump out now into our dry dock. So we need to plan months in advance, and that is extremely important when to make our life easy in the dry dock. Of course, dry dock will say, okay, we'll provide you pump it out this water. But you ask the simple things from a dry dock, they will charge for it. Even if we ask them for seawater, they will charge us for that. Now, most of the accidents have taken place during the night time. So it is extremely imperative that we plan our work schedule in such a manner at a night time, with whether it is duty officer or duty engineer, he should be having 2 persons with him. As I said, if we think we need additional manpower on the ship for the purpose of dry dock, inform the company in advance. But don't enter into a situation where everybody is pressed up. We will squeeze everybody, and then we are in a situation then everybody we want maximum from everyone, but there are not enough manpower on the ship. So also the rest tasks that also need to be planned. So this is extremely important. Make a planning for that well in advance. Again, to save the money, technical superintendents will want, if he wants, then he will give all the jobs to the ship staff only. Only thing is that he might not have control over providing the high pressure washing and the sand blasting. Otherwise, the ship staff will end up doing sand blasting also in the holds and on the ship side. But anyway, we want to say that give minimum job to the ship staff, and ship staff should be asked to just monitor the work that the dry dock staff is doing, that they do not do any wrong. For example, if they have changed the wall of a bunker tank, just see that the positioning is correct. that they have not they have not fitted the wall in a opposite way. Which side the oil is supposed to come, which side to go. So these things will have a pain after sailing out. So many wrong things happen in the dry dock. So we need to monitor the job of the ship staff. That is extremely important. We need to monitor the job of the shore staff. So don't give too much work to the ship staff. Give them job what is utmost required. Otherwise, plan such a way that the job is being done before the vessel goes into the dry dock, or after the dry dock is completed, that job can be done by the ship, but not actually in those days when the vessel is in the dry dock. Okay, again we will come up as a technical superintendent. We have a question. So, okay, as a technical superintendent, I will consider giving following jobs to the ship staff in dry dock. Number 1, attend morning, opening and evening closing meeting. Number 2, monitor removal and refitting of bottom plugs. Number 3, put tape on bottom plugs, eco sounder, transducer, EM locks to avoid them getting painted. Number 4, paint renewed steel plates of the DB tanks. Number 5, check all certificates renewed. Then monitor servicing of all LSC, FFA, fire patrols to be made. Monitor progress of the dry dock jobs and make daily reports. All of the above, or will not give any work to the ship staff. What is the right answer you want to give? Yes, the right answer is number 9. Yes, all these jobs are we can ask the ship staff to do. These are very normal jobs. So as I said, we need to plan in that we don't push the ship staff unnecessarily that you want. We were also sailing as a first as a second officer, as a cadet, as a chief officer, as a master. So there's no point pushing the ship staff beyond a certain point. It will backfire. So plan if any job, even if it is being planned, suppose we have to change the wires of the gangways and combination ladder and our lifeboats. We want it to be done by the ship staff. Get it planned that they have completed it before the vessel has entered into the dry dock. Keep it as a dry dock job. Inform it well advanced to the ship staff, maybe months before, and okay, these are the dry dock job, but let them get it complete before the vessel enters into dry dock, or wait for it when the vessel is entered the, or when the vessel is vessel is sailed out of the dry dock, but not on those days when we want the ship staff somewhere else. Okay, next very, very important thing. If you don't lock it, you will lose it. Remember, all of us, we know that all of these dry docks are done in third world countries. Whether it is your camera, whether it is our tab, whether it is our mobile phone, our charger, our laptop, if we leave it outside, it will be lost. So we need to ensure that everything is locked. And also we need to plan with the keys. We need to give the keys to bosun, chief officer, second year duty officer, one set to everybody. All these locks come with the 3 sets. So plan in such a way it should not happen that bosun has gone in the DB for some work. Now somebody is waiting for a spare and that key is not there. Now we are calling the bosun, does not have walkie-talkie. Now we need to send another man to the DB to get the keys from it. See the chaos happening. This is not the. Now we want to avoid these things. So these are looks very simple. When they actually start happening in the dry dock, then everything is a chaos. So make sure we plan for the keys and locks also well in advance. And remember, if you don't lock it, you will lose it. Okay, now it is important that the dry docks permit system and regulations are followed into the enclosed space, because their regulations are more strict, and since the vessel is in dry dock, what is their checklist requirement we have to follow first. Of course, our SMS comes in picture, but later. First, what is their requirement, their checklist, whether it is enclosed space entry, hot work, working aloft, that first we need to ask them, what is your checklist, your requirement. Now, another thing is that we should not put the shore staff, dry dock staff and our ship staff together in the same job. Because it is several times it has happened that, okay, he's saying, Arya, our ship staff is doing a race. So nobody knows what is to be done, and it ends up having accidents. So either give a job either to ship staff or give it either to the shore staff, but don't mix up the people in the dry dock. It can very well result in accidents. And very, very important, our galley. Lot of guests are expected, especially from our owners and office. So that is a time to also make a good impression on our owners so that we get more ships. So we need to keep our accommodation absolutely beautiful and clean, even in the dry dock time, no matter what is happening on the main deck, no matter what is happening in the engine room. There is no reason why we can't keep our accommodation clean. Before the vessel into dry dock, we have to ensure that our accommodation has been clean, polished, and looks absolutely like a five-star hotel. Put the plastic sheets in our alleyways, do whatever it takes, change the bed, change the sheets, our tablecloths in our galley, clean the get the bulkheads clean, shining, and stuff up, put up, stock your provisions, keep your enough fresh water. But accommodation is the only thing we have to make a good impression on our owners, so that must be kept clean. And remember, we might have to help our galley staff also. So keep that in mind. That a lot of people come for they will like to have the lunch. Even our owners are happy. Okay, they are calling all these dry dock guys for the having the lunch or dinner, and then our ship staff is already those 20-25 people of the ship. They are already not getting the food on time. If they are not being served food, then again it's a problem. So this is also we need to keep in mind that our galley staff might be required help, additional help during that time. And now it's COVID time, so of course 6 feet physical distance and no mask, no entry. That's till the time this COVID we overcome the COVID pandemic. So this will continue. And finally, I would like to say that we cannot afford to make mistakes in the shipping industry. It costs us. It costs us money. It costs us time. It costs us lives. So we cannot afford to make mistakes. That's why we check and then recheck everything. If we are going to dry dock, as I said, it's a time for a ship staff, for all of us to see the ship from outside. Our knowledge will increase manifold when we go into the dry dock. In fact, in the industry, the people have done the dry docks. So many dry docks, they are especially respected for what their knowledge they have achieved. And they have confidence, okay, I can take the vessel inside the dry dock and make sure that everything goes on peacefully or well organized, and without any accidents, we will come out of the dry dock back into the business. But we need to check and then recheck everything. That is extremely important when we are going into the dry dock. And it all depends on our people. Now, finally, as we see, we have a ship ready. The propeller has been nicely polished, and ship style, you can see all the new end notes everywhere. Rudder, it looks nice, beautiful. And okay, I will not show any videos here. So I'll finally come to this very famous Major Kuldeep Chandpuria from Border, that I might not win, but we will win. Everybody has, as you can see on the right hand side, even our all our ship staff looks ordinary, but all of us, they have special qualities, and we need somebody like all of us are Major Kuldeep Chandpuria to bring the best out of our people. And that is only possible when we respect our ship staff. We take them along for whatever we are doing. If we take them along, they also will come up with ideas, they will come up with solutions. But don't think that I have completed the dry dock, I am the one who has done it, and to show to the office or something. No, it's even the GS who is responsible for the successful operation or successful completing of the dry dock, and he must be given the due credit for what he has done. It's not just master, chief engineer, superintendent who shows that mine is red. No, it's also about everyone on the ship who has contributed to make this a success. So only together we will win it. Otherwise, nobody is going to win it. Go for it. Finally, happy faces and bon voyage. And before we depart from the dry dock, and finally, we'll do a recap. Safety is a big challenge in the dry dock because the type of operations that have happened, but it's only possible with teamwork, whether it is shore staff and the ship staff. Don't take chances with any pilferage or security in the dry dock. And communication is the key, and gain as much as knowledge, and the teamwork is the key. Respect the people. We have to train our people for what is coming ahead. So this is extremely important. So with this, I will come to the final. If we have any feedback that can be given now, and apart from that, we can be contacted. Mr. Shashi Kalada, his email address is given. He's expert on IMDG code, and he makes IMDG code very simple for us. And we at Edin Maritime, we are working on shipbuilding, ship repairs, and dry docking from India, South Africa, and UK. And you can be contacted for any ship docking and repair requirements in these areas. I will over now to Mr. Shashi Kalada for any questions. And I hope Mr. P.K. Nayyar is also here now.
Thanks, Captain Chander, that you have done a wonderful presentation, very informative. I was remembering my sailing days. That was more than 20 years ago. Thank you very much, and thank you all attendees for joining in. If you have any questions, you can type in the chat. Captain Chander and PK Nair is there to reply on the technical questions. Chander, in between your presentation, one gentleman did ask a question when you showed the image of a ship which had the rudder damage out at sea. The question was, how was the ship handled without the steering?
In that particular case, as I said, the vessel was drifting and they did not want to give a propeller movement also because they were not aware of what is the exact location of the rudder, and they could not have taken a chance even giving the movement of the propeller. So the vessel was, in this case, the tug was called. Fortunately, the tug was just 36 hours away from the nearest port, and the tug was called, and finally the vessel was towed to the dry dock.
Okay, thank you. Any other question, gentlemen, you have? You can type in the chat. We will, Captain Chander will answer it. I will make available this webinar recording, so you may share it with your colleagues, etc. And Chandra, maybe you can share the links of those videos. So I will share that when I am sharing the recording of this webinar.
Sure, sir. Sure, I will do that, sir.
As I said earlier, before starting that 20th of November, I have a session on dangerous goods stowage and segregation on board container vessels, general cargo vessels, passenger and ro-ro vessels. It will talk everything about the stowage and segregation. Also, the new latest initiative by the certain carriers, risk-based stowage of dangerous goods over and above the requirement of IMDG code and SOLAS. That will be a 1 hour session highlighting what is happening currently after all these major accidents, fire happened out at sea on container vessels. So in case if any sailing master, mate, or who recently sailed on board container ship, you can contact me so you can contribute your knowledge. I will send that information post this session. I think that's it, Captain Chander and everyone. I believe nobody has any questions, so we'll wind up. I will share this. Okay, there's a question. Refloating while on docking is incomplete due to other vessel in the same dock has to be floated out. How to manage? Refloating while on docking is incomplete due to the other vessel in the same dock has to be floated out. Like if two vessels are in the floating dock and one has to go out, how to manage that?
Well, many of the dry docks around the world, they have very long dry docks, but they have only one log gate. Suppose a vessel is a 325, suppose a dry dock is 350-meter long, that they might put 2 or 3 vessels inside that, and the dry dock is going for all these vessels simultaneously. Now, which ship has to come in and which ship has to go out, that will depend upon the docking master, because it is up to him to decide, okay, that I want with this much repair, I have to take this ship out because the ship ahead of it has to complete and has to sail out. And when the ship is in the dry dock, it's not really the ship staff or the technical superintendent need to discuss with the docking master it. That which if our ship is there, if something is behind us, and that we are completing our job, we have to sail out. So the docking master need to take a decision on it. But we need that other ship might have to be shifted out, and so that we can sail out. So it will be decided in the meeting with the docking master only. That how to handle this, at what moment this ship has to sail out, has to be removed, and so that we make way for our vessel to come out. Only it's as the harbor master is for the ports, it's the docking master for the shipyard. So he need to be taken into loop for this.
Thanks, Captain. I believe that's all the questions. We have got a suggestion to do some session on tankers. We will try to coordinate with somebody and do that thing. We will announce well in advance. Thanks everyone for joining in. We will wind up the session. Any questions post the session once I share the presentation and recording? Maybe you can contact Captain Chander. Thanks, Captain, for your initiative and great job you have done. You have done a lot of work on making this PPT. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Shashi Kalada, for giving me chance to speak regularly on his platform. And I'm indeed very thankful to him. And I'm sure he's the person who a lot of people in the industry give platform who can speak on good different topics. So, IMDG code and center, and I your tagline, simplifying IMDG code. So, really great work you're. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you everyone for joining. Stay safe and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thank you. Bye.